the $350 billion request that's coming later down the road, is that something that would be put in there? I'm just trying to figure out where we're headed on the program and whether the objective is to get rid of it or deploy it or do it in some different way.
Sure. I would go first real fast. So, sir, I was a private on a Paladin a long time ago. So the system's a great system, but we need to move to a lighter system. When you look at what it takes to get a Paladin someplace and you get what it takes to get HIMARS and how the capabilities of that weapon system compared to the Paladin, there's no comparison. So if we're looking forward to our pacing threat, we need to move to systems that weigh a lot less so we can get it where it needs to be in a time of need.
Okay. And to specifically answer your question, Chairman, we are looking at a mobile tactical cannon, which can emplace, I think it's 40 seconds versus 15 minutes, which matters a lot with the drone threat. If you look at the flood in Ukraine on either side, it's just really hard to move out and get fires ready to go. And then, you have to do it incredibly quickly. The Paladin's just incapable of it at speed. And so while we think the Paladin will be in our lives for a while because we want to be good custodians of the assets the American taxpayer has given us, we think that new purchases to balance that platform out should be something different.
Believe me, Mr. Secretary, we've been looking for a new gun for a long, long time, and we've had gone through multiple iterations. So I'm just trying to get a feel for what the plan is and what we're looking towards. So that's a helpful response. Given that, how does this hold in procurement? And I think you've answered part of this, align with the Army's stated priority of long-range precision fires. You haven't abandoned, obviously, that. You're just looking for a new way forward or a new instrument?
Yes, sir. And if you look at the Koreans have a very good version with Hanwha. There are a lot of solutions that other nations have used, and we as an Army have got to capture a lot of that new innovation and fires. And so, but this will be part of a balanced portfolio of fires.
So are you comfortable that you have a pretty clear vision of what it is you want to do going forward? That, it's one thing to decide, okay, we need to move something different, but what? What would be the next iteration for long-term fires in your view?
Yeah, sir, I think we do have a pretty good view of where we're going. I think out of all of the new PAEs that the Secretary and team created, our fires portfolio team is probably the best organized right now. It's only been coming up on 4 or 5 months that we've organized in this manner, but they've been pushing pretty fast. Lieutenant General Lozano is in charge of it. So it's a mix of the system. So we think there's a lot of promise in the mobile tactical cannon, as the Secretary talked about. We've been in search for a system like this. We think that it can be produced now. We'd like it to be on a common chassis so our systems are easier to maintain across the force. And we're not walking away from long-range fires. We have to have them in our inventory based off of what we think the pacing threat is, what we know the pacing threat is. But just look at what's going on right now in the opening salvo of the fight in Iran. The Army had a crucial part of that with our fires.
Well, I would love to get, and I'm not going to take the committee's time on this, but just perhaps privately to get a brief on this in terms of, again, where you think we're headed. I understand this is a time of great change, and we're learning, as my friend Mr. Calvert said, this war in Ukraine started as one kind of war and has evolved into another one. And I don't know that any of us saw that coming at the very beginning of this conflict. So it's a transformational time. But obviously, as you mentioned yourself, General, we have a pacing threat. This is an area where we have always excelled. We outdo everybody else. That's an edge I don't want to lose down the road. So, again, I've seen a lot of starts and stops in long-range artillery acquisition over the last 20 years, for everything from the Crusader to the NLOS-C. Lots of systems that were talked about that never happened. I think that maybe one of the challenges that we have now, that perhaps we missed opportunities earlier. I just don't want to see that happen again. I've got a lot of other questions, but I'm not going to overstay my welcome, Mr. Chairman. And again, thank you very much. Appreciate the information. Thank you,
gentlemen.
We'll
be happy to submit the questions for.
Well, I might be here for another round.
Oh, well, we could. If you want another round, Mr. Chairman, we will have one. Mr. Case, recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Secretary, first of all, I endorse the comments of the chair of the full committee and the chair of the ranking committee regarding General George. I personally had very high confidence in his leadership at a really critical time for our Army and our country. And now I personally have to start over again with an uncertain result in a critical time. When you collectively, the President, the Secretary, and yourself, decide to summarily fire the Chief of Staff of the Army, publicly, overtly, and I would even say humiliatingly and cruelly, without any offer, apparently, of a graceful exit, you at least owe Congress, the public, and I think most importantly, the soldiers, some explanation, which you did not do. And you consciously chose not to, and in doing so, you created and compounded numerous issues, including morale, uncertainty, and distrust. And I do not believe that that is acceptable or should be acceptable. So I want to be really clear. Now, I can go on because I don't need a response, but I feel I need to offer you the opportunity to respond. And if you don't want to, that's fine. I'll just go on with my questions.
I'm happy to respond, Congressman. I was in North Carolina when General George was asked to put in his resignation paperwork with my family for my kids' spring break. When we drove back from North Carolina, I drove straight to General George's house. We walked right in, and we all gave him a hug. There is no person that has more respect for General George and his 42 years of service, his Purple Heart, his wife Patty, their grandkids, their kids. I adore them, and he was an amazing transformational leader. That being said, the civilian leadership, the design of our system is that they get to pick the leaders that they want, and we execute on those orders. And what I can say about General Laneeve sitting beside me is his family, his kids are in serving now. He served 35 years, has led a lot of our most important formations. And what is so amazing about the United States Army is, and we've done calls with all of our leadership over the last week, the United States Army goes rolling along for the last 250 years. We have amazing leaders all over the world who can step in at a moment's notice and keep fighting for our Army. And my commitment to you, I think, is as you get to know General Laneeve, you will find him to be a patriotic American, too, whose family is multi-generational service. But just to wrap back